Asanteni, thank you for trusting me with the opportunity to come and talk to you this morning. I don't take it for granted. I am in a very interesting parenting space right now. I'm a single parent at the moment. Moffat, I don't know whether you are aware of that. You should know, Moffat reached out to me and told me that you guys wanted me here, and I think my first question was whether you guys are sure. And I think he expressed that you are sure, so I said, sawa, kama ni cha hivyo. And you guys have a great pastor, I hope you are. I am hearing that he is very new in this area. I am hoping that you guys are going to embrace him very tightly. Please show him where the meat joints are. Are you in a fasting season? Okay, so we will start with group 12. Group 12 ndio itakuwa ya kwanza kumpeleka nyama choma, si ndio? I think you have a group for every month. One day we need to organize that way out in Rio, but you have a very wonderful man. I'm remembering one time that we drove out to Meru with him. And I think we had dinner plans, and then we ended up landing in my mother-in-law's house just to say hi. Ile chakula tulipe, unakumbuka? You know, in Meru they take this thing of eating very seriously. Yes, mwalimu. You know, hakuna mchezo na chakula. Yeah, I decided to go that way, and it has really helped my life. But I also wanted to say something else. I think it was the same year, either 2008 or 2009, that in the year 2000 or 2001, I had an accident on Thika Road, when Thika Road was the dual carriage that was there. And they had this thick wall dividing Thika Road. And I was driving, I was carrying about 18 people in the park school van. And we were going on some school mission somewhere. And somebody just came and passed us so badly, I lost control and hit that wall a number of times, you know, while trying to control the vehicle. And actually got phobia for driving. Like real phobia. I enter a vehicle and I can't drive. My legs will literally shake. Then one day we went to Kabarak. We were going to find a place to take the youth so that they could go and be able to camp there. And I was with Pastor Eli, Reverend, I should say Reverend. Just in case I say Pastor, please forgive me. And Pastor Macau. And they drove, Stephen Macau. And they drove all the way. And then they asked me, do you drive? And I think I shared the story with them. When I came back to the vehicle, when we had finished with Kabarak, I found they were seated at the back. And they gave me the keys. They told me, now you drive. And my God, entering the vehicle. Now, thankfully, from Kabarak all the way to Nakuru town, it's a bit of a quiet road. So I think it built also a bit of confidence. And I don't know whether I've ever told you that. I think I'd bought a car and parked it at Valley Road. Like ilikuwa nimenunua gari nimeiacha Valley Road. Ilikuwa hapo without me driving. Right? Now mpanda matatu and I would go home. And these guys just broke that car barrier, car wall for me. I don't know whether I've ever told you that story. That evening I actually drove home. And I'm thankful to God. You never know. Just two small influences here and there that end up changing you. 1 Samuel 22 and 2 Samuel 23. I want to read a few verses there. I had assumed since I was coming to church, people will have carried their Bibles, whether they are digital or physical. It is okay to read the Bible in God's house? Okay. While you find it, allow me to also explain my single parenthood. My wife is away on a trip, and she's been away for a while. They work in the same field with Mshauri, so I assumed maybe they had communicated with each other and told each other, shika our clients while I'm doing whatever it is that I am doing. And has challenged my parenting in a level that maybe I've never been in for the last few years. So, yeah. 1 Samuel 22, verse 1 and 2. David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about it, they went down there to him. All those who were in distress, in debt, or discontented gathered around him. How would you want your life to be described? How would you want people gathered around you to be described? I don't know whether you see the three values that these guys carry. It says they were in distress, they were in debt, they were discontented, and he became their commander. Okay? 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 8. These are the names of David's mighty warriors. Okay? So, you basically move from safari. I assume that you also get to learn. So we are learning from you on how to do these things. Really, you get, hi Stanley, you get guys who are in distress, who are in debt. You want to turn it? Professor. Then these ones will not see. Mungekuja mapema. Me, I will write from where I am told. Oikae hivyo. All right. So distress, debt, and discontent. Okay? And then now, you have mighty. I will bet you that our role in parenting, that our role in doing the things that we need to do should end here. I don't know, Bwana Chairman or main convener, I don't know whether you people get to talk about some of the traps that especially men and have ended up in. I listened to a sermon once in Valley Road, 2008 April. I can't forget that one. It was from 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 22. Flee from youthful lusts, pursue godliness, faith, hope, and love, alongside those who are calling on the name of the Lord out of a pure heart. I even remember who was speaking it. And I remember the gentleman saying that when the Bible talks about fleeing youthful lusts, it does not say that flee from lusts that affect the youth. Right? It talks about fleeing from lusts that can keep you, because you are at a certain age where you can develop some values and some disciplines or some very faulty things that end up affecting the rest of your life. Now, let's assume, because Pastor Eli has said that a lot of other men should have been here. Okay? Let's assume they are the ones in debt and not us. Right? Please keep laughing so that I don't assume it is you. Usikae serious sana. Okay? You know, now if you don't, I go like, pengine, hata wamefika, kwanza our group 12. Okay? Right? The guys who gathered around David, I was speaking in church the other day and telling them, you know, you hear a lot of young people talking about insomnia. Some of them, they don't have insomnia. They are in debt. Sababu ukiwa na madeni, wezi lala, right? Wezi lala vizuri. Ukiwa na madeni, you have distress, right? And part of that is born out of discontent. Think about also all other factors that can come with parenting that end us up in that particular space. David had men who were banded around him, 400 of them. He ends up having mighty warriors. And by the way, in chapter 23, when he talks about them, he talks about the first guy he talks about is Josheb-Basheth, somebody of that nature. A guy who stood with a spear and killed 800 people that day. Okay? He talks about another guy one day when they went taunting the Philistines. And I don't think the guy was aware that we are taunting the Philistines. I think he thought they were going to fight them. Right? When everybody else ran away, he was left over there. And the Bible says he killed 600 of them until the sword was sticking to his hand. By the way, that one is even funnier. They were coming to fight where there was a harvest of lentils. Huyu alikuwa na guard food. Mluya. You know, he just guarded the food. He made sure nobody touched it. He did that. It talks about the three of them who one day had David saying, if only I could drink from the water in the well that is outside Jerusalem. And the three of them rose up, walked through their own army, walked through their enemy's army, went and fetched water, came back through the enemy's army, came back through the army, woke up David and told him, here is water. It talks about some of them who killed Goliath's brothers, because Goliath had 5 brothers. And these are guys who, when they heard David is going into hiding, the Bible says they were right in this place. Then you see them over here. Could it be that we are right here, even as parents and even as men? And the expectation from our children, and I know how your children came. I know they did not come through prayer and fasting. Yeah, even mine came through a similar activity. Right? Because there is fathering and then there is parenting. 2 different things. But it is parenting that sometimes will bring us into this space. We just took our children into a new school. We moved at the end of the year, took our children into a new school at the beginning of the term, somewhere in April, beginning of May. Landed there and got into a very expensive exercise. A school that has 4 sweaters, 4 different colors of sweaters for the week. Right? Yeah. I have 3 children, and I have also one in college at NIBS. And you know, I'm trying to calculate. So by the time we bought things that evening, my wife and I were not conversing. Okay, Mishai, I'm going to through stressika na pesa. You know, Mishai, fika pahali, by that evening you don't know what to tell each other. Like I was telling her, did we need to buy the sweaters for Wednesday and Thursday? I mean, we could just have bought for Tuesday, then tomorrow, when we have breathed a bit, she says, Nani arudi soko? So by the time we are reaching Ruiru, okay, we are not talking to each other. Right? And I'm a pastor. Sembusewewe. Right? Stress. Now, you know how they say that a lot of things that parents do are not taught? They are more caught. I realized that. Yesterday, I made dinner for our children. We have 2 girls in our house. One goes to school at NIBS. The other one works in the house. But we have demanded that they must be part of our discipleship program. And our discipleship program was going on retreat yesterday. The other one had gone for a burial in Embu. So I was left with the children. The children arrived home and they asked me, so what are we eating? And I told them I'm making dinner. And they said, wow. Actually, they showered early and sat around the kitchen to see Dad making dinner. I called their mother and told her I'm making dinner. And she told me, how come you don't make dinner so many times? How? And I told her the Bible says in the book of Acts, it's not meet for us to forsake the preaching of the word and prayer to attend to the kitchen. It is, you have to approach these things with the wisdom of the word. So anyway, so I'm making them a dinner, and I realized they know almost everything that needs to happen in the kitchen. The smallest one was standing on top of a stool, just to make sure that he misses nothing. But the sufurias and the whatevers, even the things I did not know where they were, I took a certain pot to make vegetables. And my daughter laughed, and I asked her, what's up? She told me, you don't make vegetables with that. You use this one. I asked her why. She told me, it washes easier. And I'm thinking, I don't think this is being taught. I think this is being caught. Easy V2. Right? Because even me, when I find them in the kitchen, I tell them, what are you doing in the kitchen? You're supposed to be doing your homework and such and such and such. The only thing they do is they eat, they clean their space. After they eat, they wash their own utensils that they used. But to go and help at it, they are doing all this work. Apana, I need them to concentrate in school, do it. Then over the weekend, we can do all the general cleaning together. You know, that kind of thing. I was watching them yesterday and I realized these guys are seeing much more than my sister-in-law has been driving my car over the weekends more than I'm driving it. I realized my son is the one who tells her what needs to happen around that car. It's not because I've actually told him, until you are 16, you're not learning how to drive. Right? I've told him that. We are very clear with him on that. But he knows how this vehicle operates. So he's the one who tells my sister-in-law, ukifinya hapa, itakusumbua. This, if you need to clean the back window, this is what. I haven't taught him, but he has caught it. Guess how much more else they catch. Now, because you're all thinking that I'm a Christian, let me give you a bit more. We had a very nasty fight with my wife in the car one day. Mwenje, you have no idea what I'm talking about. This guy is getting married in December. He has no idea what I'm talking about. Furahia. Or as they're saying right now, pulahia. Yeah, just relax from where you are. You will understand. Some of these men are breathing easier because their spouses are not here right now. I'm a jiongelesha. Man, we had a difference of opinion. You know, I married in Meru, and I was told a story about how somebody went to the Meru forest and saw a tourist and saw an antelope passing by, and he asked, what kind of antelope is that? He was told, this is a Meru antelope. A second one passed, and he asked, what about that one? He was told, this is a Meru antelope. A third one passed. He asked the same thing. He was told, this is a Meru antelope. See, they look different. How many kinds of antelopes are there? He said, only two, Meru and Fimeru. I am married to a Fimeru who is very... So when we start fighting, she doesn't back down. Na amesoma. Si hata unajua ni PhD anamaliza. So, so sometimes when we have a difference of opinion that is animated, she doesn't back down. And so we are having this conversation, and we get home, and I'm about to alight from the car, and our firstborn says, Dad, can you stay in the car a bit? So I come back and I go like, what? He says, I want you and Mom to stay in the car until you finish. Where? And I was rushing into the house to finish preparing to go and minister to people the following day. Najua nyie mkuangi na hasira. They catch more than you teach. So how are we going to move ourselves from that? Because if we are in that space and are not moving into a healthier space, then no matter what it is that we are doing, we are going to transfer this rather than... Are we together? Okay. So I was saying, when I was preparing this, I was telling myself, I don't think there is anything much new that I'm going to be talking to us. It's just stuff that we know, maybe just a reminder and a call to action. Okay? My father passed on at the beginning of last year. I'd been married with my mom for 49 and a half years. Best example of a father anyone would ever have. In fact, I told my wife when we were getting married, if I treat you 50% of how my father treats my mother, I'll consider myself as a success because of how I've seen it happen. But this is how it happens. So I'm going to tell you a few stories from that. This is how it happens. I went to Buruburu one day, Sitam Buruburu, and I was waiting for, you remember Pastor Gloria Azikiwe? I was waiting for her at the gate. And she was, I don't know whether you know that, she was our maid of honor a wedding there. Very good friends with Marion. She's the one who kept me from confusing my wife when we were dating. Nilikuwa nataka kufanya vitu zingine za kimwili. Pastor Gloria will say no. What? Nilipeleka mbio sana. Ama ni mimi tu nilikuwa nakwazika nikidate. Mnaniangalia aje? Anyway, I am a sinner who has been saved by Christ. Anyway, I'm waiting for her, and it was the garbage day for the estate around there, and people had put out their garbage bags, okay, and it was a holiday. So I'm waiting for her, and a dog comes to the garbage, and it starts rummaging through the garbage, and it has its tail in between the feet, okay, the hind feet, and it's just rummaging through the garbage. And it's looking around, it goes back into the paper, looks around, goes back into the paper, looks around, and all this kind of stuff. And it reached a point where it rested on the front legs, and now it has its head in the bag, but it's also still looking around until it rested properly, right? It has its head in there, it comes out with something, it's eating, it's looking around, and all this kind of stuff. When Pastor Gloria came, I told her, I've observed this dog. I feel like there is a spiritual lesson here, but I don't know what it is. Okay? So I took a stone, as any man should, and threw at the dog. Simnajua hiyo ni part of being a man. Ukiona umbo inafanya tu mavitu na. Okay, so I threw a stone at it. It actually went under the gate of the church and entered the compound of the church. Then we are talking, I think I'd been sent to give her something, and then we are holding this conversation. Then the dog came out with 4 puppies. The puppies came and went right into the garbage bin. Okay? And they went, there is no tail under there, whatever. There is no stopping. They just went right into the garbage bag that had been opened, and they started rummaging through the garbage. I tell Pastor Gloria, there is something here, but I cannot tell what it is. So years later, I'm speaking to parents, and I told them this. What I learned from that dog and those puppies is our children will not start where we start. They will start where we stop. The puppies never opened the garbage bag. They found that the parent had already opened it. They never even approached with fear or caution. They approached with total courage. And yet, they were all partaking of garbage. Are we together? They were all partaking of? I don't know whether you people listen to some of the language parents are spewing out nowadays. Right? You know those words that we would not use, the S word, the F word, all those words that we would not use, but you'll find people using it, and they are using it even in the premises of where their children are. Where they stop. Right? When Ellie and I were youth pastors in Sitam, let me say youth pastors in Sitam. Now I'm a youth pastor elsewhere. As a senior pastor, I'm kind of happy. I can call my own shots. When we were there, we used to talk to young people about some of these things, including hip hop and the rest, and what you should not listen to, and some of the things that were coming out with Akina Lil Wayne. By the way, I'm not even keeping up with the guys who are singing, because it's become worse and worse as you continue. There was a girl who was arrested in Rwanda, I think 2 days back, for attending an event while barely dressed. Right? You saw that. Do you know, you don't even want to see the photo. It's very provocative. Okay? Do you know how many Kenyans, because I think she's been put under remand, and I think she's going to be jailed for 2 years for indecent dressing. Do you know how many Kenyans, young people that I know, wacha watu wala ujui, unajua kuna wala unajua na wala ujui, people that I know who are actually saying, why would such happen in such a banana republic? Right? It is where the parents are stopping. That is where the children are starting. Because so many more things are caught more than they are taught. We are coming this morning with Pastor Francis, and he was mentioning to me about the how girls have now started wearing bikers. It's become acceptable for girls to wear bikers. Bila, unajua biker ilikuwa ya. In fact, even, I see my wife buying bikers for my daughter so that when she wears her dress and goes to school, kuna at least a biker underneath. Okay, walishaangusha industry ya kamisi. Hiyo iliisha. Sijui kama unajua hivyo amkoa. Hii industry ya kamisi iliisha. Unless uko kwenye ushago watu bado huku Nairobi. Hiyo tuliangusha pamoja na anyway, sawa. In the last election, hata see, now they're wearing a biker and just walking around. Right? Let's just talk about the spouses of those men who are not here. Of those ones who are not here. Si wanavaa tights na wanatembea tu. Siko baya. Right? Vitu tulikuwa tumezoea tu kwa gym. They are wearing them. Why would we then be surprised that some things are being caught? Usivae hiyo. The other day my daughter came with a bareback dress. And I told her, where are you going? She told me, see, we're going to church. She's in the children's worship team. See, we're going to church. And I told her, not in that one. And she told me, Mom was wearing such a, and I'm thinking, we were going out on a date. Akakalionea wapi? So I tell her, what do you mean? She tells me, I will show you. So we go back to the room and she shows me, this one doesn't have, and I started telling her, did you see your mom wearing a sweater? She said, yes. I told her, good. So you go change right now. And say, nina nikaongelesha mamake, nikamwambia, na shiana, kuhana gota? Utarie. Like things are not going very well over here because something else is being caught. So here are the three things that I wanted to say, maybe four. Okay? As a parent, the 4 roles that you're going to play, including those of us who are not parents but are getting there. Okay? The first role is the role of care. The role of care. And the role of care is going to mean that you have to be present. Did you know that you cannot care from a distance? If somebody tells you that they care about you, now akombali, start dating the next one. Those of you who are not married, let them go to Dubai and do the work there. They don't care about you. Okay? You have to be present. In fact, one of the very interesting things that God created at the beginning of the whole world, all this kind of stuff, He created family. Are we also in our family month? Yeah. Okay. He created family first. Now, we are also trained theologians. So, hii Bible tumeisoma the same way engineer. Vile umesoma ile yako. No? Sinonanga yako tu tunakwambianga vile nataka. Singiliangi sana. So, let me help you. God created family first. The breakdown of the family, I really believe, is what led to the church. If God meant to start the church, ingekuwa Genesis chapter 1 and 2. Hello? Yeah. Ingekuwa Genesis 1 and 2. Imekuja Acts. I don't know how many books later. 43 books later of the Bible is when the church comes. Is when Jesus is saying, I will build my church. I mostly believe it's because of the failure of the family. Care should start. The ministry of care. We are the department of care. If you don't care about your family, you should not care about the church. Sasa sijui kama unanielewa a bit more. Because these guys, when we work in church, they expect me to do some things and I refuse to do them because I have to take care of my family first. Because if the church fired me today, guess where I would go? Yeah, I learned that. If they released me today, have you even heard of men who are retiring and then getting home and realizing there is nobody they can connect with because they took care of everything else apart from being present at home? Right? And they end up with depression. They are the ones who are bringing you money. By the way, I love that philosophy. My wife was saying the other day in church, she said, I will teach you the truth. I will do my best to teach you what you need to learn. If you don't listen to me, then you can come and pay in my office to listen again. She's a therapist. You'll come and pay in my office to listen again. And some of these people are the ones making you money. Right? The place of care. And the place of care, the highlight here is about presence. Elder John Nganga, one time speaking at Valley Road, said that it used to be that people used to have a job, and with a job they would go home. It used to be true when your mother will tell you something like, "Gojea baba yako akuje." You knew he was coming. Right? Then things, and by the way, that was our truth at home. When our mother told us that Gojeni baba yanyu akuje, it was not a threat, it was a promise. Okay? It was going to be fulfilled. Right? Yeah, we used to do things just to make sure she doesn't tell our dad anything. It moved from that until where now our economy becoming worse off, both parents started working. Right? And then both parents, it's reached a point where they discovered the two jobs we have are not helping us manage or to scale upward. Because we need also to be attending CITAM, which is scaling upward. Hey, Bwana asifiwe. Muko kanisa mzuri. Hallelujah. Jana, iko mazishi tulikuwa tunaenda. And the person who was burying the old man that we had gone to bury used to be our pastor in the mid-80s. Right? Alikuwa fundi wa mbao. I think I was trying to share that story with you. Alikuwa fundi wa mbao. Alitoka Kinangop kukuja kufanya hiyo mazishi jana. And my mother was telling me, mwadhani, hata afadhali hivyo tulitoka huko. Right? They kicked us out of church because of some traditions and all this kind of stuff that we refused to be part of. And she was telling me, at least, pahali hata tuko sahi, you can see we are growing. And so because you also want to upscale and look like the people in CITAM, Bwana asifiwe, si mbaya, by the way, right? You both have jobs, but you start a side business, right? And so when you leave work, instead of going home, you have to stop at the business to balance books because you want to make sure there is nobody around you who doesn't know mathematics. I think this week has been a week of mathematics. Next week is going to be a week of legal jargon. Sawa sawa. Right? So you pass by the job. What do? You actually end up leaving the children with somebody to take care of them, whether it is the house help or it's a tutor. Sindio? And then you decide to pursue an MBA. Uko kazi, uko na side hustle, kuna MBA. Now, if you have a very active wife, kuna chama, right? And then there are all these two family groups that have been forming, and we come from Muranga group forming, so that people are meeting once a month. You get those things that have been happening. So you're so busy, guess who gets excused? Na saa hiyo, sijaongezea church. Because some of us who don't know how to escape, na huko, we escape in the church. And we are so busy in the church that every meeting that is called for, we are available. But see, me, when some guys come for every meeting that I call, I start wondering whether home is okay. Na siko baya, I'm just talking as a pastor. I now prioritize visiting them to go and see whether everything is okay at home. Yeah. Kila prayer meeting, unamkuta ndiye ako hapo mbele. I start asking myself, how come you are available for everything? You never apologize for missing one of them. Oh, okay, sorry. I was not coming to break down the church. I am just saying. I'm just saying. Right? But I'm a pastor, and I will tell you that most of my Sunday afternoons are spent at home. Because my children ask me, umetoka mapema, unarudi sangapi? And I'm like, hey, I will pastor others. Then later, do what pastors do. Sending their children to me to counsel with them. I said, I'm not sending my children to another pastor, youth pastor, to counsel with them and try and recover them. I am going to be present for them. Hao wengine, watoto wakilala, you can come and talk. By the way, I meant a lot of young people. They come to our house. We talk after the children sleep. Kujedi, kuna chakula. We don't have to make any complicated food. Kuna chakula, you will eat, we'll do all that kind of stuff. But I need to play the role of care by being present. Number one. And some of us, by the time we catch up with being present, because it's easier to give a gift than to spend time. It's easier to buy a toy than to spend time. It's easier, but it's easier to even buy a laptop or gadgets than spend time with children. It's easier to take them for merry-go-round. And by the way, these are part of involvements. I'm not saying they are bad, but stay there. Jump into the swimming. I've been teaching my children how to swim. This guy is a very good swimmer. I've been teaching my children how to swim, and all this kind of stuff. And it's a lot of joy to watch them do that. But they know that I'm present with them and we're going to spend that time together. I'm not going to keep myself so busy. In fact, one of the things that I thank God for in terms of COVID was that it brought to us online meetings. So some meetings I'm like, I'm not going to be part of that meeting. I am staying at home so that I see my children arrive home. And if I have an evening meeting, by the way, very, very deliberately, because now, now as a pastor, munataka kunipatia mkutano ya jioni. And I am also a lead pastor, so I can control my time. Nenda nyumbani mapema. I go there, arrive from school, they find me there, we do homework, I check it, and then I tell them, I have a Zoom meeting, and I am doing it from there. In case any one of you needs me, niko wapi? They'll come knock. These guys keep telling me, no, watoto wako wanashindanga wakiingia. So, niwa? Presence. Okay? I don't even know whether I'm going to finish that one because I need to say something. There is a secular artist called Chris Rock, okay, comedian. He said in one of his sketches, Kitambo, he said that he bought his daughter the first gold chain. He took his daughter to some of the best restaurants ever. And he said the reason he did that was so that if his daughter ever meets a boyfriend who buys her a gold chain, he needs her to realize that she doesn't need to be sexually involved with him or anything, or to yield anything to him because of what she has been given. Like he will give her a gold chain and she'll go like so. Right? He'll drive him in and she'll go like so. And he said something that a pastor should have said, something that should have been in the Bible. He said, in fact, I wish I'm the one who had said it, because sasa ningekuwa nimeandika kitabu around it. He said that the first person to reach your child is believed. The second person is suspected. Even those things that we are shy to talk about, including sexuality and all this kind of stuff, and I hope you get an opportunity to teach us on how to talk to our children about sexuality, all this kind of stuff. These guys are doing a thorough job. I think you meet with parents once a month on Sundays just to get to talk some of those things. I think it's very important to do. I'm pointing to him because I know he's very smart in some of these ushauri things. Anyway, you don't talk to your child about sexuality. Then they meet either people of the same gender or of the other gender, and they're the ones who introduce them. By the time now you feel you're ready, you come in, you're a parent, but you're the suspect. Do you remember when the serpent talked to Eve, and the serpent was asking Eve, did God really say? And Eve is wondering, I know I have all this, but I'm wondering, what else are you keeping from me? Same thing. So now when you step in as a parent, you start telling them, now there are things you don't do, but they have already been told by somebody else, there are things that you do. They're now wondering, what are you denying me? Because you're not present. Are we together? That care cannot be outsourced. Let me use that word. It cannot be outsourced. It has to be primarily sourced. I don't like this. I'm running out of time already. Number 2, na sijafika ya pili, is a place of coaching. It's a place of coaching. And the place of coaching is also very practical. Okay? Care is one of those things that nobody can do for you. Coaching you can do together with others. Okay? In the space of mentoring. Care, I don't know how many times I changed my children diapers and all this kind of stuff. I remember one time we came from church and my son just vomited on the floor. He was having a bad episode, vomited on the floor and started saying that he's not feeling well in the way he could express it at a year and a half or something. Then by the time the girl was removing the diaper, this was Sunday afternoon, we had just left church. By the time the girl was removing the diaper, he just had diarrhea all over the floor in the kitchen. And so she took him to take him to go and clean him up. I took a bucket and cleaned the kitchen. Okay? My wife was busy expecting, and I'm the one who had caused it, so. Amen. So, I cleaned the house, and then I go back to the. We had lunch. My wife eventually catches up with me in the bedroom, and she tells me, "Msichana ananiambia haamini what you have done." So I told her, "Oh, so what did you tell her?" She said, "You are the parent." Yeah, you are the parent. You are mzazi. Right? There are some things on the level of care, those foundational years that you can never transfer to anybody else to do for you. You are the parent, you do them. When it comes to coaching, you can go like, okay, now when it comes to this one, I feel like there is a cousin that you have that is smart enough that can help me in this particular area. Okay? But we're in that space where we are doing it, together. Things like, how do you drive? Okay? How do you confront the police? Or how do you approach a policeman? Kuna wengine anasema, I know a lawyer. Wanalala ndani. By the time you are getting your child out of a police station, right? The trauma they have undergone, right? Just because somebody became arrogant and nobody ever told them. By the way, ukiona polisi, mtu kwanza ushuka chini kidogo. And then you come up. The other day I was stopped here, just over here, by a policeman. I thought my insurance had expired. So I saw them at the roundabout Roysambu. I saw them, I went like, Mungu, my insurance has expired. So I took the left lane to drive towards the policeman. Talk about jumping out of whatever into. But now I decided I'm going, nitaguza pale, ni turn left. I go back the other, or turn right, I go back the other way. 2 policemen literally ran to the service lane. Literally. Naona, alafu naangalia, naona hakuna gari ingine. So they stopped me, told me, mkubwa, kwa nini sisi unatoroka? I told them, ni watoroke kwa nini officer? Ni watoroke kwa nini? Habari ya leo. Eka gari pale, so I put the car over there. They told me, kangalia sticker. It was expiring that day. So I'm thinking, oh. Then they asked me for my license. They checked through the phone and all this kind of stuff. But then I also bought them bundles. Iyo mnaangalianga na bundles za nani? Wacha niwatumie, nipatie namba nikutumia credit. Credit. Then they told me, wewe hata ni mzuri wewe. And now later on I realized my license had not been, driver's license had not been renewed. I had renewed it, but it had not been uploaded. Okay? Then I gave them my business card. Wewe ni mchungaji, si ungeanza na hiyo? I'm thinking, the other day I was stopped at Salga. I tried to explain to the officer, mimi ni mchungaji. Nenda kuhudumia watu. And he told me, mchungaji kitu gani? Weka gari kwanza, nyinyi ndio tumekuwa tukitafuta. So you don't know, you know. Coach on how to control emotions, how to treat people with respect, how to handle money. Hello? How to handle money, how not to get in debt, how to invest. Okay, how to spend, how to have a budget. If you don't have a budget and you don't know how to budget, then get somebody who knows how to budget to teach them how to. Hello, we cannot all be smart in all areas. Bwana asifiwe. Tuko pamoja bado. Okay, get somebody who can coach them about that. How you cannot have sex everywhere and with anyone. Because the result of what we have on Thika Road with all these students is a culture picking up where even our young people are thinking, by the way, it's almost like sex has lost its value and its sacredness. Right? Teach them that. Okay? Coach them on the perils of drinking and drugs. And by the way, if you are here and you're a parent and you drink, please see somebody as soon as you can. Because where you stop, there are other ways. In fact, somebody told me, I respect Christian men who, when they're having issues, they still go home because they have the Holy Ghost. They don't have to stop anywhere to drink so that they are not, asked questions. I got on a matatu coming from Meru one time, and there's this guy who was telling a story. Okay, you guys, do you know how to time a matatu that is actually not going to stop at every stage? Unapanda long distance. Just in case you did not know. Okay? So I timed him, matatu ni Meru, got in, and this guy was telling a story of how he had given somebody a lift, and it was raining so hard. When the lady alighted, there are two ladies. When the first one alighted, the second one alighted and left a child in the car. And so he's telling her, go with the child, and anasema ni wa huyo mama mwingine. And he's saying, si mlikuwa pamoja? Anasema pana, ni mvua ilifanya tutembee pamoja, si hatukuwa pamoja. So he goes to the police station, takes the child. The police tell him, wewe mnaenda mnazaa huko alafu mnasema mtoto si wenyu. So go with this child home and you report to the police station every 24 hours. So he went, took the child for dinner. He's wondering, how do I go home with a child that I don't know? And how do I tell my wife that nimechukua mtoto na huko njia? So this story is very interesting. So I'm even nudging him because I hear a bit of Kimeru, but I want him to tell it in Kiswahili so that because of what wanacheka kwa gari, and I want to be part of what is going on. So he said, I bought 2 beers. I took one and I poured the other one on myself. I walked into the house and I said, huyu mtoto apatiwe chakula, aoshwe na onyeshwe pali atalala. And now because my wife notices that I am drunk, she says, sawa, to allow me. So he said, at about 2 a.m., he gets a call from the police who tell him, ule mtoto ulileta polisi murudishe mama yake amekuja. So he's saying, sasa ninge-explainia mke wangu aje ati huyu mtoto. Right? Men who are full of the Holy Ghost and who are drinking something else. They are drunk on the Holy Spirit and not on wine and not on beer and not on alcohol. Teach them the dangers of that. On how to be a wise person. Okay? My dad, one time, we were hanging out with him after I had been married for a while. And he calls me for a meet. There's a place on Kenyatta Road called Kipipiri. We are having meat over there. And we eat. When we finish eating, he tells them, boil for me half a kilo and some potatoes, muongeze waru na nini, na munifungia vizuri. So I told him, kwani hujashiba? Now, honestly, my son, would you want me to eat meat and then go home, niambie mama yenyu, nimekula nyama, kana ile, in front of your mother, right? Juu mimi nimekula nyama, na yeye hajakula. No, I am taking her some meat so that she also partakes of that. So even me, I asked for half a kilo. Na waru na kila kitu ndio nipelekee my wife ndio ajue, by the way, sikulangi nje ovyo, right? I also come with something. Like teach that. Sababu kuna wanaume, they are looking so good when you look at their wives. Moving on swiftly. Their wives, you talk to them and they tell you, Bwana ndiye bwana yangu. Number 3, the third role we play. Oh, Prof, I have gone over my time. Give me like 5 more minutes. I'll wrap it up. Okay? Is the role of captain. Okay? So this is very young. This is possibly when people are teenagers. Okay? This is when you realize you have a young adult and there is very little you can do about telling them what to do and what not to do. Hapa ni panel beating too. Right? You know what a captain does? A captain of a ship. Right? The ship is built, it's already set on the water. There is very little he can do. All he can do is turn the rudder right and left, not tell the ship, you can be made of wood. The making of wood was during care. You can be loaded with such and such. No, you cannot say at that time. That is during coaching. Now it is just gently directing. Ndiye anakuletea msichana and you tell him, this is very good. So you guys are born again? And they look at you and go like, oh, okay. Sababu there are some evangelistic dating. Ile namuombea mpaka okoke ndio anioe. Right? And you're able to panel beat kidogo mwambie, hey, that doesn't happen that way. Girls who want to marry men who are not working. Sorry, nimekuja sana. Have I come too much? Right? And you tell your daughter, unafanyanga kazi wapi? Nika panel beating too. Because there is very little you can do at that particular time. Kwanza when they are in love. So you remember when you're in love yourself. Right? You start realizing, but they are nika panel beating. Kidogo kidogo too. I can only captain, I can only guide. They come back to me for wisdom. But guess what? Hello? Are we still together? This will not happen if this and this did not happen. Right? That is when you see children going and calling a pastor dad. Mi kwanza kanisa yetu nilisema nisiitwe hivyo. Kuna wengine wanatoka places zingine because honestly in a church you get people from everywhere, even from other churches. Sisi tuseme tu kweli. Hata wewe unajua pale ulitoka. Hali ya doi mereire, unajua pale ulitoka, si ndio? Yeah, you know where you came from. They come and they want to call me dad. In fact, there's another one who said on Sunday, kama amesimama pale mbele, I want to thank God for mom. My wife was like, look at this one. You know. So I was enjoying her the whole day. Hey, mom. You guys shut up. You know. They start calling other people dad. This is a father figure. Wanaita TD Jake's father. Na wewe uko hapo. Okay, si kwa ubaya. TD Jakes is a good father figure, but I am just saying, right? If that did not happen, then the rest. So it means at this particular point, the number of influences are so many, right? But they still come back to you and ask, what should I do? Right? Because you already invested in presence, you already invested in coaching, and so now they're figuring, by the way, I know where I can go to ask such and such a question. When Marion and I were dating, I used to go home. I used to drop her. She used to live at Roysambu. And I used to drop her a bit early. And one day she got frustrated. She was telling me, we unless we are doing a dinner and we have gone with our friends somewhere and we are doing a dinner and all this kind of stuff, we are not spending the evenings out together and all this kind of stuff. And she asked me, why do you go home early? It was actually not a question, it was frustration. So I was responding to frustration. She asked me, and I told her, see, I have to drop you. Now, isi ile dropping ya siku hizi ati mtu anapatia mtu gari ndio amdrop. Even my own father did not have a car at that time. Okay? Hii ni ile akumdrop, matatu mmeshuka, umemsindikisha, ndio tunaita dropping. Okay? Mmeshuka matatu, umempeleka mpaka pali anaishi, umerudi kwa matatu, umepanda matatu, so that I get home while there is still light, so that my father, when he's looking at me, goes like, you are not being promiscuous with a lady that you have not married. It was so odd. Actually, our first year of marriage, true story, she calls our maid of honor to ask our maid of honor, I'm kind of concerned. And so we sit around and we are talking about the concern. So our maid of honor had come with her husband. Her husband was not my best man. She had come with the husband. She did not call my best man because she thought my best man will be biased in this particular issue we're dealing with. And she said, I am trying to figure why Steve comes home early. Well, we were newly married. You guys know when you started out in marriage, how hata ukifika nyumbani, mnaweza fanya nini? Alafu kupikwe, katikati ya kupika, mfanya nini? Na mkienda kulala bado uko na nguvu ya kufanya nini? Guy, kwani nyinyi mliokoka lini? Let me check. Pastor, ni moshero ama nigeshero? How long have you been married? 5 years. So you're still in that zone. Now I'm realizing I'm a one-shot wonder. You know, like, moja poa. Ama nyinyi mwongeangi maneno. Sorry, nimepita sana. Unajua pengine, I'm still within my topic. Mwanje ipole. Utanielewa. Sitakuwa nikikupigia usiku. Mchana, I respond to my messages during the day. After 10 years, he will understand what I'm talking about. So I am thinking, but you are home. Like, what else am I doing outside there? Who else am I with out there and all this kind of stuff? So they're seated around, and Pastor Gloria said something. She said, in church, we are praying for men to go home. Yours is coming home, and that's a concern. Sema pika chakula tukule. That's done. Hiyo issue ikaishia hapo. I was like, what? And later on, I told my wife, I've never seen my dad come home late unless there is a very particular reason. And most of those reasons were elders' meetings in the church. That's it. I always saw him come home on time, be with us, and all this kind of stuff. Then I could go back to him to captain me because I had seen this. Are we together? The last one is something that I'm calling commission. And the reason I'm calling it commission is because I don't believe that God will gift us so much with parenting skills and the ability to do all this, and then we just do it for our family. We must consider how it is that we even extend it to others. Hello. You are more than privileged. And I don't think that your responsibility should just lie over here. I have one guy in our church who I challenged. Nimeona watoto kadhaa hapa kwenyu. They had just moved into a new estate. Nimeona watoto kadhaa hapa kwenyu. Why don't you run a Saturday Bible club program for the kids? He started running it. The parents approached him and asked him, can you do a Sunday service for them? So he normally comes for second service in our church because he's doing a service with the children. Kwa estate yao, he has moved this to actually start reaching others. Because there are some children who are going through hell in their homes. And we cannot sit pretty. We cannot say that these are the only ones. In fact, the other day we were being taught and we were told that Lot, who was a righteous man and who brought up his household in righteousness, never saved Sodom. Never saved Sodom. Right? Yet he was a righteous man. He never saved Sodom. He took care of his family. In fact, when those guys were coming to ask for people to rape, he told them, I have 2 daughters who have never, in a wicked city, he said, I have 2 daughters who have never laid down with a man. If Lot had done this, number one, possibly because he was an MCA in Sodom, the Bible says the angels found him seated at the gates of Sodom, which means that's where the leaders of the city would sit. Okay? Which means the city would have turned around. But number 2, when we don't reach others, right, they influence even the good that we are trying to do. Do you realize, I don't know whether you've read the Bible enough to realize that Lot's daughters, when they went to the desert, they asked themselves a question. How will we ever have children? Huko tuoni mwanaume? This is like the Garden of Eden. The only man around is our father. And so, they gave him, preach that next Sunday. The following day, They gave him alcohol, or they got him drugged to a point where one of them slept with their father, and she's a mother of what? The Edomites, or one of those. The following night, the other one, they got him drunk, and the other one went and laid with him. Sodom had reached them where they were, because they never thought that this is the zone that God has given us to influence and to change. They thought, if I protect my family, na niwalete kanisa, na first Sunday, wanajua tuna match suit ya black juu ya communion. Sorry, nilikuwa sitam, so I know a bit of this. Okay? Our colors are black, red, and white. So those are the colors that we buy for Sundays and all this kind of stuff. Hata naona watu wamevaa red and black, huku najua hawa ni watu wa sitam ndani sasa. Adidas and the rest over there. And nawaona. No? Right? And we think that is what we are supposed to contain. Mutashtuka. We start realizing that God is calling us to a bigger role than just our own households. Just our own households. If I dare look at one more thing, I will go way, way, way beyond my time. Is it possible for me to pick 2 questions, just in case there is? Mumesaidika. Is that helpful? Okay, awesome. Oh. You know, Daktari is biased. He knows me, so he started the clapping so that everyone else can. He also knows where I got my wife from. Yes, sir. Mtu anza na kusema, thank you so much for the... Anyway, in asking this, no, go ahead. No, go ahead and ask the question. We don't even have time. Ama ujaenda masemina za na uko nje?
Thank you, first of all.
Sasa angalia huyu.
You know, you are hilarious. Anyway, I wanted to ask this on behalf of the diaspora fathers and mothers.
Okay.
You know, where we're heading to a time where you probably married when you are available for one another, or probably at what stage of your family life as a parent you are there, and then something happened, maybe because of work, one reason or another, you are no longer there, but you would like to do the first level. What would you tell us for those who are in the diaspora?
I love that question. Yeah. I love that question. That's a very valid. No, this is the way you respond. That's a very valid question. I'm going. Just allow me to attack it from 2 directions. Number one, if you are harboring, and I know this is not a forum for younger people, but if you're harboring ideas of being in the diaspora, don't marry local. Go marry there. Dr. THUO, is it Dr.? Reverend THUO Mboro. Is it Doctor? Okay. He took us through a marriage seminar. I was so annoyed. By the way, we are leaving for a marriage seminar. Just now we kona moja kwa church and I'm the host, so I need to leave as immediately as I can. Dr. THUO Mboro came and took our couples through a seminar that was extremely irritating. And one of the questions he asked, because he was asking, is yours a marriage? That was the question he was asking. And people started realizing, Mimi sijui kama I'm in a marriage or not. So by the time he was done at 1 p.m. with the first session, people were not wanting to talk to him because he asked very incisive questions. And one of the questions he asked, if you want to go and work abroad and leave your family here without a plan of ever going with them, why take that job? What do you desire, your family or the money? Because trust me, when you're doing family in the right way, even God's provision will follow that. I really believe God's provision will follow that. I think it's the pursuits of our hearts and of our desires that will make us leave what God has created here and go for what else is out there. Now, I know opportunities abound, and I know there are people who take a time to go and live away from family. But I will also tell you that the local family can be rough and tough. And some people, their escapism is by getting those jobs. Hey, ama nimi na pastor kanisa iko na shida. Some people, their escape nature is getting those jobs and being away from them. This one also means, by the way, one of the ways you can ever best be a parent is by loving your wife. And showing your children you love your wife. That way, even the children growing up knowing, by the way, that is the model of how a marriage should be. And they know it. Right? Now, when you tell them, nakuanga na huko natafutanga pesa na all this kind of stuff, you'll be very surprised one day that you don't have a family. You have children. You have children. And they can go in whichever direction. And at that point, they will boldly, because we are living also in a very woke culture, they will boldly tell you that you are not present, you're not our father, you cannot speak into my life, I can do whatever I want to do. And then now, you all rush to the pastor for him to anoint you and the children. And I'm telling you, there is a time anointing does not work. Tunaweza wapaka mafuta mwili mzima na bado you cannot slide out of whatever it is that you put yourself into. Au kuna mzazi alikuwa ananiambia nataka mtoto wangu akaange hapa mbele ndio una wadi na muingia, and I'm like, let me tell you, I preach for 40 minutes and those 40 minutes a week are going to be undone by 168 hours of the week if you are not investing in the child. So hata ukimweka in the direct firing line of the anointing, there's very little that can be done if these basic ones are not done. So I think this is a prayer for wisdom. God, would you provide for me even where I am, so that I make sure that I am not so far away. I could be biased, and maybe rightfully so, because my father was always present. Right? Always present. He did not, when my dad would be away, we'd know he's on a weekend away, na pengine wameenda kuona shosho in Kinangop, and then they come back. Right? He worked around something that enabled him, and it's not that we did not go through trouble. We went through proper trouble. In fact, I personally reported to university 4 years after I'd been called to university. Right? While they tried to sort out all their monies and all this kind of stuff. But they were present. I'm better off for it because they were present. Let me add on to something that I thought you were going to jump on when you started your question. There are also parents who are here who are single parents. And they're bringing up boys and girls. And especially boys. When we talk about commission, please take care of those boys. Hello? First of all, those pregnancies and those children were born out of men like us. And those who did not come today, could have caused some of those single parent families. Bwana asifiwe. Yes, take care of those children without sleeping with their mothers. Nimeanza uchokozi tena. Sababu you can take care you can take care of the child mpaka uone, let me also take care of the there is somebody who told me that the reason he loves the world more than the church is in the world they know both your wife and your girlfriend. In the church they just know your wife. Naambia huko nakuanga na stress nyingi sana. Huko wanajua lakini hapa ni kama mnaji. Oi, sorry. Am I? Okay. Amuko imekuwa too much. Yes. Yes. Na hiyo ndio namaliza nayo kwa sababu niye tu ameuliza.
My concern is on this part. Mention something about the military parents. And besides the military, by diaspora I meant someone who probably you have a family and you have to get married as well. Even if you're working even though it is you are always away for like a month, you're back, a month, you're back, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes two months, you're back. And when you are around for like 2 months before again you are away. So, and as men, you have to get married.
Yes.
And the reason you have
you have to get married. That's a very good point. It is not good for man to be alone. Yes.
And you see, when your place of work is somewhere you cannot take your family with you. Like if you are working in a humanitarian country or in a humanitarian sector, you are in abroad and probably a hostile place, you cannot have your family with you there.
Okay.
A military person, always in the barracks.
Okay.
How would
Or a politician campaigning everywhere.
yeah. Perfect.
Hello.
Yeah.
Pastor, can I encourage you? I don't know whether you guys hold couples seminars. I think there are 3 kinds of couple seminars that you need to hold. Na kuongelesha senior pastor. Unajua sasa kule mimi I'm the sorry, I'm also a good Kikuyu. I'm the koigi there. So I think there are 3 kinds of couples seminars that you need to do. One for the married couples, one for the people who are preparing to get married, not just their class, but a seminar for them. Some who are projecting of how they are going to get married and all this kind of stuff. And maybe even a lower age of teenagers and all this kind of stuff who are getting into relationships. They figure that question out very early. Okay? I would say that I would respond to that question more of an exception than the rule. Okay? Because in some places it's becoming the rule where it's supposed to be the exception. Okay? That the job that I do, and maybe there's some specific people. And I think in that space, that specific person needs to find that space where they are receiving consistent counsel and help so that they are able to balance so that they do not ignore this. Okay? Because now when you talk about military, and my wife was teaching a class this semester, and part of the people she invited in to co-teach was a person in the military and a child of somebody who was in the military, just to help them understand how some of those lives where families live apart, how they end up living. So maybe I might not have a full response, but I would say it should be the exception and not the rule. However, I think there are some people who are living their lives in a way that they're setting themselves to be home is for conjugal whatever and not for responsibility. And I think that is a demon that needs to be called out. Right? The responsibility that God gives you is present. By the way, that is how you end up now stratifying society. Do you know in the Bible, have you ever read in the Bible and seen that there were teenagers or young adults? In the Bible, you are either young or responsible in marriage. Full stop. Right? Because of presence. So even your parents knew, huyu vile anahitaji wife anakaa hivi. Right? Na kama kuna mtu hapa hajaoa na umekaa sana bila kuoa, see the pastors, there's some sisters. God bless you guys.
So, thank you, Reverend THUO. Let's appreciate him once again. I think that is quite a hilarious message, but with deep lessons, isn't it? And I believe as men at all levels from point 1 to point 4, we have a lot to learn and also to implement in our lives, isn't it? And I think we thank God for that. And particularly the one which is relevant to us is number 4, the commissioning. And I believe that one all of us can immediately go and do it, either to our children or even the children of our neighbors or even to those who basically need us. And that's why, if you remember in our announcement, we included all of us. And I think those are great points. We are really grateful, Pastor. God bless you so much. And we look forward to having you in another session and talk deeper on these issues again. Basically, these are things which we struggle with. I did my PhD in North America, and my family was here. And it is, I normally, when I talk to people, I normally give them, if you have an option of doing your studies here in Kenya, it's better because I know those challenges. But you have to be very thoughtful when you find yourself in those kind of situations, is that when I'm here, I would make sure that all my time is with the family and I look for those opportunities. And then I sacrificed. I made sure when I finished, they had to come there for 1 year. It was a big sacrifice, the airfare for them, and also struggling to keep them there so that at least I can try to close the gap. So I think when you find yourself in those kind of circumstances, you have to be basically. And remember, I was working in Kisumu. They were here, so I would come from Canada and go and do my research in Lake Victoria in Kisumu. So I had a lot, but I was very conscious of that. So I was grabbing every opportunity to close the gap. And that is what probably I would say, because that's a very practical question if I add to the pastor. And sometimes those situations, you have to be conscious about yourself and then see how you can try as much as possible. Although the first thing is to avoid, is try as much as possible to close those gaps of being away. So I think because of time, I am going to not to go so much, but I just want first of all to say that we thank our ladies for going to the mountain, because if they were not in the mountain by this time, they would be kicking us out here. And that's why, Pastor, we have had time to continue beyond time. And so we really thank you for your patience, men. And we will finish in a very short while. So the other thing is just to appreciate you men for the way you have continued to play your part as individuals in the church and even among the Potter's men. And we really appreciate you and even being active in your groups. And we encourage you to continue being active. And at this time when we go to take our breakfast, let's meet in our groups shortly and we reconnect and continue to work as team. The other thing is that we really, on behalf of the men leadership, want to thank you for the way you carried yourself during the campaign period.